Happy holidays. I'm Jimbo Merrill, Senior Market Advisor for Old Wise Ones with market commentary for the week of December 11th. With a few weeks left this year, stocks remain on track for a solid year-end finish. Our 2024 market outlook has a few highlights. The labor market's gently cooling. That's just what the doctor ordered. Strong labor market, but it's cooling off just a bit. Inflation is falling faster than the Fed's projections, suggesting a soft landing rather than a big recession coming our way. Growth will slow to below trend in quarters ahead. With mortgage rates still high, the housing markets remain strong, but consumers are starting to show some fatigue and slower spending rates. The $20 million question is, when will the Fed start reducing interest rates? We see the Feds taking a pause for a few months and then start reducing rates later in 2024. We are the Old Wise Ones. We're here to help you make more money. Today, we're talking about documents you and your family need to transition your family assets to the next generation in a smart method. Oliver Burke has a question about a healthcare directive agent for his niece and what it means. Do you?
Yeah.
Oliver, what was your question?
Exactly that. What if I have a niece, my sister's girl, very lovely girl, but she's going to start traveling soon. And I think she should have a healthcare directive that would cover her while she wanders around. I mean, what happens to the girl if she ends up in Thailand or something and she falls into a coma? I mean, does she want to be resuscitated? And is there such a thing? Does that work? Is there a worldwide healthcare directive, or are you just at the, literally at the mercy of whoever takes care of you wherever you are?
Well, a lot of it you are at the mercy of where you are. I mean, what kind of medical you have near you at some island someplace, you're scuba diving someplace. Mm-hmm. But generally, if you have a directive and you have it with you, medical professionals in most places are trained to look through the wallet, look through the pants pocket for a healthcare directive. Oh. So if you do ask her to get one, and it's a good idea to have one, short and sweet and in her wallet, on her body, everywhere she goes.
All right. Good advice. Thank you very much, Larry. That was very helpful.
Well, you're very welcome, and good luck with her travels all over the place.
Yes, I know. Yes.
I think the most important thing is just to be proactive and get these documents in place, because there's going to be a million stories of what if. But if you start, and also I think it's important to refresh your documents. Did your daughter's last name change? Was she remarried? There's got to be a time, maybe, Larry, you know best. Is it every 5 years you recommend taking a look at it? Are things still the same? Is it every 10 years?
I think it depends on the actual family and when they started to begin with. Typically, the high incidence of timeframes that these happen is when you have young children. And then when you have young children, I tend to tell them to wait until they're adults and then come back in and have it reviewed again. And about that point, you're going to get a pretty good idea if your young children have turned out to be pretty good with money or not, and who might be better at it than other ones. So we would look at it then. Another big point in time is when the kids go off to college. That's when a lot of families break up because they've stayed together for the kids and then they break up. And then that's another transition time for money and estate planning. And then a third time typically happens when the parents are quite old. They'll come in at 70 or 80 and say, wow, I wanted to give all my money to my kids and I gave it all to my kids, but they all have more money than they need right now. I don't want to give it to them now. Now what do I do? So those are kind of the three periods of time that are natural times to review. And then if something happens, if somebody that's an executor starts drinking too much and they're an alcoholic and you know they're not going to be able to handle that job anymore, it's time to get them out of there. My wife and I have 2 children. She passes away. I marry a new woman named Susie Cream Cheese. Susie Cream Cheese wants to take all the money and give it to her kids. But my trust became irrevocable the minute I died. If I wanted my kids to have my money and I die, that still stays. So Susie can't come in later and change it.
Now, wait a minute. When you made that trust, you presumably made it with your wife.
Yes.
So the two of you are on the trust.
Right.
So if, for example, you die and she remarries, the money still goes to your children.
Correct. If
And
that's the way you
vice versa.
wanted it when you were alive,
Right.
that protects the dead person from a new interloper taking the
Right.
money.
That's right. Yes. Yes. In my case, Irving, that bastard has been sniffing around my wife for like 15 years now.
Right. But the most important part of this is to do it.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right, Brendan. And what I've found too is when you ask people when they do their trust, how long they've been thinking about it, the average time in my experience has been 3.5 years. And you ask them why, and they go, well, there's just something about it. It's almost like they think they're going to die if they get these documents done, which is not true. I don't know. There's something of finality about them where they don't want to make the decision. So just know
Right.
that when you're preparing these for your family, that there might be some resistance.
That's why I brought up that thing about my niece and the medical directive, which is that when you're young, you don't, first of all, you think you're going to live forever.
To that.
But secondly, you don't want to deal with the idea that you are, in fact, going to die or that you might get sick. And yet, these are the easiest things to draw up and do. I mean, literally write them down on a piece of paper, sign them, and get someone else to sign it as a witness. And you have what is basically a legal document, I believe. And you can start there and start when you're, 18 or something, and just write down something that makes it's basically becoming an adult. You are taking responsibility for your own health, your own life, and your own death. It shouldn't be that difficult, and it should be part of everyday living instead of this weird sort of boogeyman that seems to be creeping into your life.
And some of it is when you're in your 20s, you don't think you need control because you feel like you have it all.
Yeah.
I'm never going to get sick. I'm going to always be in control. And I think, when I was in my 20s, if somebody told me what it would be like in some impoverished third world, and I had a stroke and what would happen to me down there, and it scared the pants off me, it's probably the only way I'd sign something like that. It's like, wow, I didn't even think about what it would really be like if I was sick in these places. So that seems to be the way that most people, push to get them done. At least when, in my experience, they call and say, we're going on this major trip. We got to get it all done before the trip. It's like, are we going to die on this trip? Well, no, but it's an impending event for them to get it done.
Hopefully, if you don't have healthcare directives, this discussion will engage you and your family over the holidays to get these very important documents in place to protect your family. Next week's Old Wise Ones show will be about trust. Tune in and see what specific trust documents you need to be fully covered.
Sex and drugs.
You can search Old Wise Ones on YouTube, where you can subscribe for free. You can also find us on social media and all your favorite podcast platforms.